Also, symptoms of mania and depression have also been reported from chronic use and also chronic and heavy use of cat. A lot of these studies have been done, tend to be mostly like case studies, so smaller studies, and that was one of the push for us to also incorporate an arm of looking at psychotic symptoms in this study because it was a larger household-based study. So we thought this is a great opportunity from a very large household survey. Can we be able to see and confirm this kind of picture, especially the chronic use of cat? Next slide, please. So our study objectives was to determine the prevalence of psychotic symptoms in a cat-growing population and also to investigate the association of cat use with psychotic symptoms. Next slide, please. So study design, I'm sure, I think she's also going to talk about it. It was the similar study. But for the quantitative arm of the study, we had cross-sectional household-based survey, whereby we had clusters or what we can even call villages. We went to different clusters and we randomly selected houses within these clusters. So we had in total about 650 households that we interviewed participants from about 65 clusters, and the total number of people we enrolled in this particular survey was 843. For our study site, we focused on 2 counties, Meru County and Embu County, Igembe North, Central, and South, and as well as Tigania in Meru, and the regions of Mbere, North, and South in Embu. So this data was collected between September and December 2015. Next slide, next. So our study findings, I don't want to overload you with the tables, but what was seen, just the distribution of social demographics before we get down to the nitty-gritties of cat use. The median age of the people we interviewed was about 30 years, and over half had lower level of education. You can see the table there is saying 84.7% had up to primary school education, only 12.2% had gone to secondary, and 3.1% had gone to tertiary level of education. And then more males than females reported substance use in general. The lifetime prevalence for cat use, lifetime we mean in your entire life, have you ever chewed or used cat? It was 44.6 at that particular time. But for current use, at the time we were taking a period of 3 months, have you chewed cat? And 36.8% of the population mentioned that they had chewed cat. 54% of these were male and 20.5% were female. So going with the pattern that we are aware that generally male chew cat more than females. Next slide, please. Then we also looked at the distribution of social demographic characteristics, alcohol and tobacco use by cat chewing. So I've already mentioned the lifetime prevalence and the current use prevalence, but cat chewing, when we looked at the association of cat chewing with these different variables like sex, like education, like age, we found that, again, it was statistically significant that it was higher in male sex. Male sex were chewing cat higher, more. That is a p-value of 0.001. Younger age, that is less than 35 years, the ones who are chewing cat, they had a higher level of income. Again, so cat chewing was significantly associated with people with a higher level of income. Also these people tended to have also comorbid use of alcohol and tobacco use as well. So we didn't find any association with the level of education and occupation. This is just based on the cat chewing. Then when we looked at pattern of cat chewing based by gender, we saw that half of the cat users reported daily use of cat. And so, I mean, the frequency of chewing was quite high, with 49.8% reporting that they chew cat on a daily basis, and more females than males, which was interesting. When you look at under 10 years, the people, at what age did they start chewing? When you look at under 10, 18.3% said that they had started chewing at the age of less than 10 years. And interestingly enough, 32.6% of these were females, so more than even the males. That's what was an interesting finding. And then, so nearly half of the cat users reported daily use. And then this breakdown is based on birthdays and also the number of years chewed. Again, when you look at the number of years chewed, 76.7%. So more people had chewed cat over a longer than 10-year period. So this also highlights on the changing patterns in how cat is being used currently, because we know that it used to be a ceremonial plant. It used to be chewed maybe in gatherings like traditional weddings and things like that, mostly by the older generation, like the older people, and it used to be controlled on how much you're chewing. So when you look at this pattern, clearly the pattern has shifted in terms of the age people are chewing and also the amount that is being chewed. Next slide, please. So our main focus was really on the psychotic symptoms. So we looked at various factors around psychotic symptoms. The prevalence, whether one was chewing or not chewing, the prevalence of having any psychotic symptom was 16.7%. And the main symptoms that were associated with at least significantly associated with cat use were hallucinations and having strange experiences. We use a tool called the PSQ, the Psychotic Screening Questionnaire, that looks at symptoms of mania, of thought control, paranoia, strange experience, and hallucinations, and also any symptom. So interestingly, when we looked at just any symptom, yes, cat chewers had more symptoms of any of these profiles that we're looking for. But when just any symptom, the p-value was 0.262, so not significant. But then when you specifically look symptom by symptom, the one for hallucinations and strange experiences, as you can see, the p-value was significant at 0.017 and at 0.024 for cat users. Next slide, please. So we also did a logistic regression, looking at specifically these strange experiences, hallucinations, and also controlling for certain things such as other substance use, for example, like tobacco use and alcohol use. And we found the one for strange experiences, the odds were increased slightly for odds for reporting psychotic symptoms were increased about twofold. So 2.787 for strange experiences, and for about 2.09 for psychotic symptoms. Next slide. For hallucinations, sorry about that. So in summary, what are we saying? That the prevalence of cat use, this is current use of 6.8 from that large household survey, that cat use among children was at 13.6. Now the people who say they were chewing cat, 13.6 of them were children, so that age between 10 and 17 years. The prevalence for psychotic symptoms was 16.7%, slightly higher than what we found. We did a similar survey using the same tool in Western Kenya, Maseno region, and there we found 13.9%. Interestingly, both sites had more women reporting psychotic symptoms than men, both the Western Kenya and this Eastern Kenya study. And we also had higher odds of reporting hallucinations and strange experiences among users. So that's when we were focusing on those core symptoms. So what are the study limitations? Our study, as I've just reported, is a cross-sectional design kind of study. What does that mean? It means that we take a snapshot of the study, so of the participants at that particular time. So we can't establish any timeline or causality. We cannot say that cat causes this, because this is a cross-sectional study design. And what we can say is that it's associated maybe with this and these particular symptoms of psychotic symptoms. So it's not really based on causality because of the cross-sectional design. And also timeline is important because, again, it's a snapshot. So we do not see what started first. Was it the mental illness that started before the use of cat, or is it the use of cat that started before the mental illness? So that's a limitation of our study. Then we did psychotic symptoms, as I mentioned. We used a screener instrument and not a diagnostic tool. So we're not saying these people have schizophrenia, for example, because we did not do a diagnostic tool for that. Then this is a primarily rural population. It would be interesting to actually be able to compare this with a urban population, or combine the two and see in total what's the picture, what kind of picture are we getting. But the strength of the study is that we used a really large sample size, 840 participants. And then we also used random sampling techniques, so that in itself reduces a lot of bias when it comes to research. Next slide. So that's a paper we published. It has a lot more details. This was just 10 minutes, so I didn't have a lot of time to put in a lot of the information. It's in the BMC and it was peer reviewed. Thank you so much for your attention.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Ongeri. Just to remind us that we agreed there are research evidence briefs that we have prepared in case what Lynette presents in terms of p-values and confidence intervals and that kind of language may not be clear or understandable to each and every person who is here. So tomorrow we'll be able to distribute those briefs so that people can be able to consume what KEMRI has done in this area. But before we allow Lynette to go, because she has requested to go, she has a webinar. She's being waited somewhere. Do you have any 2 burning questions for her? 1 or 2 burning questions? Yes, Honorable.
Lynette, from your findings and the experience, there's one only talk about poor concentration.
Yeah, yes.
From my personal experience of eating Miraa, you do not have poor concentration before poor concentration.
Thank you very much. I wish you could put that slide on. But then what happens is we have acute symptoms and we have symptoms that happen even post-chewing, yeah? So acutely when someone is chewing Miraa, yes, I've actually put it there in my slide, that one has focused attention, one has euphoria, one feels, capable, even communication becomes even elevated at that point. But then 4 hours later, when the drug is, not the drug, but the cat is being metabolized, at that particular time, what happens is that they start having symptoms of insomnia, and even the concentration starts going down, and irritability also starts to replace the euphoric state they were in. So these are time-bound kind of symptomatology that happens. Yeah.
I expected in the conclusion.
Yes.
To say that if you want to concentrate, you chew a bit of that.
Well,
I can tell you from my own personal secondary school experience.
Yeah.
I used to go on I could not listen anything.
Okay. All right. That's noted, although I was trying to just paint the whole picture of psychotic symptoms, but that's noted. Thank you. Thank you for your contribution. Yes.
Sorry, can we have just one more last question so that we don't... I should not move this. Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. One more only, please. Then we can allow her to go. Yes.
Thank you so much. I mean, it's not to support what the entire said on the issue of poor concentration. We say that too much of everything is dangerous. You see?
Sure.
So, by this is due to overconsumption, because as I said, and as I declared, I also do chew. And even from the literature, from other experiences, even for the long journey drivers, they chew cut. And they concentrate on the road for a long period. So I think it is good for you even to consider that finding, so that probably further research is required to find out, you can find that aspect of poor concentration. Because probably that is not the reality. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Even irritability.
Yeah. Okay.
Those people who chew cut, they are very jovial. Yeah. They are very friendly. Yeah? So at what they are very calm. So at what point do they become irritable? So I think that is also cause for consideration.
Okay.
So we are not really saying that it's such, have some findings, but of course probably it needs further research to find out why you got those results. Because we are speaking from a point of experience and of course practice. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So, you want to talk? So thank you very much. I think, sorry, I'll allow you. But I don't want to open a discussion at this time because we are yet to listen to more presentations. We only needed her to go. I think to sort of add into what she's saying, we need to do further research that is longitudinally designed and not cross-sectional, because she said it was a snapshot, one point in time. So those drivers who are able to concentrate longer, we need to go back and study them for a period of time, say for even 5 years, and we follow them up and see, actually, this Mira makes them concentrate longer. And we can actually conclude and say it is Mira that makes them concentrate longer on the road. People who are chewing and are doing very well in mathematics in school, we need to get them a large sample size. We study them from Form 1 to Form 4. And we see actually they are doing very well because they have been chewing Mira continuously. So I think I've cleared the air. So I'll allow Lynette to go. We'll be left to talk about it later on. So thank you, Lynette.
Thank you.
Please, okay, thank you. We will. Asante. Asante, yeah, she's leaving.
Somebody else will take questions for her.
Somebody will.
There's something else that you can't you mentioned something called straight experience.
Yes.
You know, you were attending for this edition.
Yes.
And you said some of the things that benefited was alertness, story.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that concentration, ability to concentrate and
Yeah.
for a long without getting fatigue. But then you mentioned something called straight behavior.
Yes.
They found that could be suggestion.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
we need to know what is straight behavior.
Yes.
What exactly do you mean when you say straight behavior? Because in psychotic terms, I'm here okay to say that you are restless, you are talking around, shouting, you are dressing. But now this straight behavior
Yeah.
should be a blanket
Okay.
cover.
Okay.
The idea that we not be off from this presentation because if left like so, it will give us problems in
Okay, thank you. That's one of the variables we use. It's a tool that we use, a questionnaire, standardized questionnaire that has been used globally. And one of the symptomatology we ask is about strange experiences. But it's not just we ask strange experiences, it's actually a particular anchor question. If you go through the paper that I just showed, the questionnaire is actually there, and we give examples of what these strange experiences are that we are talking about. But thank you for your feedback. Thank you.
So thank you so much. Sorry that we have to sort of rush it. As I said earlier on, we have the evidence briefs that we'll be able to share with you. We can have a chance to look at them again so that we perhaps knock off what Dr. there is asking about. But most importantly, the conclusion for the next study is that further research is needed in this area. And I think we can be able to do more research. So thank you very much, Dr. She's already gone, yeah? So okay, all the best. So I'll call the second presenter for this session, Dennis Miriti. He's here with us. He's going to be giving us a presentation on oral health status and its associated factors among the youth in Igembe Sub-County, Meru County. Dennis is an MSc student in epidemiology, and he's studying at the KEMRI Graduate School. Let's put our hands together for Dennis Miriti. Dennis, over to you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Okay, first of all, before I start, I want to thank my governor for giving me this chance. Actually, I'm a youth for giving me this chance to argue about Mira, and I'm a youth from Meru, and the leaders tell us, we the youth are the leaders of tomorrow. So it's a very great chance to give me a chance to argue about it so that we will continue our future to fight about Mira as we grow up. Okay, in my research, I wanted to discuss about the oral health status and its association factors among the youths in the Igembe County. One of the main reasons why I conducted this research, I want to give you an evidence-based reason, is because in 2018, everyone heard that KDF said that majority of our youths, especially in Igembe, they have poor oral health status, and they said that it's because of Mira. That thing actually affected me so much, and I wanted to conduct an evidence-based research so that we found out whether it's Mira or it's another thing. And in my introduction, this is just introduction. Let's go to the next slide. Problem now, the second one. Okay, in my problem statement, I think that KDF recruitment 2018, they said that the Igembe County had the highest number of rejection due to poor oral status. Actually, we found out in areas like Mutwati, only 7 youths were selected in that area. And the major reason they say that it's because that area has poor oral status, and the reason is because of Mira. But they do not give us the evidence because these are evidence-based research. So I'll be happy if there's somebody from KDF who is here so that I give him the true evidence so that they will know actually it's not Mira and another things which are conducting it. Next slide, please. Okay, this justification will also help us in the risk factor awareness, and also the Kenya Vision 2030 improve the quality of life, and the Big Four agenda, that's the provision of quality of health care for youths and others. Next slide, please. Okay, these were my research objectives. My first objective was to determine the prevalence of dental caries and periodontal disease among the youths in the Nhif sub-counties, Meru County, to determine the relationship between Mira chewing and the oral status among the youths in the Nhif sub-county. I want to find out whether it's Mira which is causing the dental caries or it's another problem. And also to determine the relationship between tobacco use, alcoholism, and the oral status among the youths in the Nhif sub-county. The Nhif sub-counties. Proceed. Next slide, please. These are some research questions. Next slide. Okay, sorry. Okay, this was a cross-sectional study, and the study are concentrated among the youths, that is people aged between 18 to 35 years of age. Next slide, please. And my sample size was 340 youths. Next slide. Okay, in my the areas where I conducted the studies, it was in Meru sub-counties, the Gembe sub-counties, and in Maua, I selected 107 youths. In Mailitatu, I selected 32 youths. In Kangeta, 77, and those in Lari, 94, giving us a total of 340 youths. Next slide, please. It was a semi-structured questionnaire, and also I used the World Health Organization assessment handbook. Next slide, please. And also on the oral indices, in the dental caries, these were the indices I was looking at. Next slide, please. And the periodontal disease, these were the indices I was looking at. Next slide. Okay, these are my results. And you can see that majority of my respondents, they were the youths aged between 23 to 27 years of age, and they made up to 52%. The least were the youths between 33 to 35 years of age, who were 8%. Next slide, please. And the prevalence of dental caries was 62%, and the caries free was 2%. Next slide, please. The periodontal gum disease, the prevalence was 47%. That is the one word shallow pocket and the deep pocket, making a total of 47%, and the prevalence of 53. Next slide, please. And the majority of the youths who chewed Mira, 88% of the youths in that area chewed Mira, while 12% did not chew Mira. Next slide. And I looked at what was it chewing Mira with? I wanted to know that substance. That's why I assessed the chewing gums, the sweet, the soft drink, the sugary, and those 9. And you can see that the majority actually used the chewing gums, the sweets, the soft drinks, and the sugary tea and coffee. Next slide, please. And now this is now the evidence-based research. And you can see that the people chewing Mira with the sweeteners, actually they are the majority with the dental caries. And the people who chewed Mira with no sweeteners, they were the least compared to the people who do not chew Mira. This is a very good research because it shows that people who chew Mira with no sweeteners actually have a good oral health as compared to the people who did not chew Mira. And those who chewed Mira with sweeteners, actually, they were at a greater risk of developing dental caries. Next slide, please. And this slide, I looked at the periodontal disease, that's the gum disease. And you can see that people who chewed Mira with the sweeteners, actually, they were at a higher risk. 121 is 35%. People who chew Mira with no sweeteners, they are 14%. And people who do not chew Mira, they are 25%. This shows that actually people who do not chew Mira, actually, they are almost twice the number of people who chew Mira with no sweeteners. Which shows that people who chew Mira with no sweeteners actually have a good oral health. Next slide, please. And I was looking at distribution by tobacco use. Because you know tobacco is one of the major causes of gum disease, that is the dental caries. The gum disease, the periodontal gum disease. And you can see that actually the 26% were current smokers, 8% are former smokers, and 66% they never smoked. Next slide. And this I looked at what type of tobacco were they using. And you can see from that actually Quebec, which was the most high. And actually I remember in the morning there was a guy from the Mira stakeholders who said that let scientists tell us whether it's Mira or it's other product which they take with Mira. And actually, I believe I'll answer him here. It's other product which they take with Mira, it's not Mira. It is this product like Kuber, which actually you see that it's taking the majority of the youths. And this Kuber is the youth take it by putting it under their lips. Actually, I remember during I was conducting the dental assessment, you could see that actually the majority of them, they used Kuber, which they stuck it under the lip. And 6% used chewing tobacco, 23% used cigarettes. And according to NACADA, actually Kuber has more nicotine as compared to cigarettes. Next slide. I also assessed the alcohol consumption. And you can see that NACADA saying that actually male will consume 4 billion by 2016. And you know that actually alcohol is one of the major causes of dental caries. How? Next slide, please. I'll show you how. Okay, thank you. Okay, let me show you how. Here we see the respondents to drug alcohol and high plaque levels. What's plaque? Plaque is that oily substance you find people who drink alcohol. There's an oily substance you find in their teeth. That's plaque. Plaque is actually a layer of bacteria. Those bacteria are the ones which cause dental caries. Those are the major causes of dental caries. And you can see that actually the majority of the youths in that area, they took spirits and gins. The reason why I divided the drinks according to the alcoholic type is because that different drinks contain different alcoholic level. Like beer contains 4% alcohol, whiskey contains around 40%, spirits contain 50 to 60%, which actually were the majority which the youth take, which shows that actually this exposes them to more dental caries. So these are the major causes of dental caries and the cigarettes. Next slide, please. And you can see that this is another evidence which I did the analysis. And you find that people use tobacco. Actually, there was 32% who developed dental caries, and 8% did not develop dental caries. Alcohol use was on 47%, and that was 64%. Next slide, please. Also, you can see in the periodontal disease with tobacco, there were 100 as compared to the use of drug use alcohol at 94%. Next slide, please. Okay, I did the distribution of dental caries by oral hygiene aids, which is actually one of the major reasons I want to do. It's because even our oral hygiene also affects our dental health. And you can see that actually the majority they use toothbrush, chewing stick. Most dental chewing stick is called mukini in Kemeru. You understand chewing stick is called mukini. And also the charcoal. Actually, charcoal is being used actually by the majority of the Somali population in that area. And actually, I discourage charcoal use because charcoal causes abrasion of the enamel. It destroys your enamel, which actually exposes you to more dental caries. So actually, I discourage that, and I encourage you to use the toothbrush, chewing sticks, also salt water. It's better. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, frequency of teeth cleaning. That was the frequency according to my Sunday population. Next slide, please. Okay, and this was my discussion. People who chew Mira with non-carcinogenic sweeteners and regularly brush their teeth actually have a better oral health status. This study is supported by another study conducted in Saudi Arabia by that guy El Wajahi, and I found that people who smoked actually they had a high rate of dental caries, and people who used alcohol together with cigarettes actually they had a high rate of dental caries. Next slide, please. These are my conclusion. Respondents who chew Mira with sweeteners were found to have a lower dental caries as compared to respondents who not chew Mira. And the fluoride content in Mira leaves, because the Mira leaves contain the fluoride content. And could be partly explain this. People who chew Mira with sweeteners had good health status, tobacco use, and Kuber predispose the youth to periodontal gum disease and the dental caries, and high consumption of sweeteners. So these sodas, these chewing gums actually expose more to dental caries. And also most of the youth said that they brush their teeth. But during dental examination, I could see this is false. So let me say that it was not done efficiently as supposed. Next slide, please. These are my recommendations. The respondents who chew Mira had low dental caries as compared to non-chewers. Hence, the medical effects on dental caries should be brought to light. And also further research should be done to show the benefits of Mira. To support this, actually, we found that in the United States of America, 50 states, out of the 50 states, 37 states have accepted use of marijuana. Then how else can we denounce Mira? And you know that you cannot compare Mira with marijuana. And we find that these Europeans, these people, in their 7 states, actually, they have accepted marijuana for medical purposes. Even as we should be enabled to show the medical benefits of Mira and be able to showcase it worldwide. Okay, thank you. Also should be the commercial programs. Next slide, please. The next slide. Also, I want to say that this side of mine, I've published it in 3 publications. I've also done a book. I've done a book in Amazon. If you Google Dennis Muneni Mireti, you'll see a book I've written there. And also the region, the study results are sort of be received well by the Meru County Minister of Health, Honorable Mishek Mutuma here. He has already accepted this study of mine very much. He has supported me a lot. Next slide, please. And this I want to thank the governor actually for hearing our plea in Nyambene County and giving us this seat so as to cater for the youth there who have dental health problems and dental caries. Okay, I'll finish and I want to say that thank you so much. And Mr. Governor, next time you're going to London, please speak to me. I'll be able to support you in part of the land.
Wow, put our hands together for the young man, Dennis. Yeah, so we'll get to ask you questions at the end of the session. It seems that Mira is beneficial to oral health from Dennis's presentation, and even from the next presentation that was supposed to be done by Dr. Linus Degwa, who is one of us at KEMRI. However, we put a rider and say that the 2 studies are cross-sectional study design. The design is cross-sectional. For us to get further evidence and more information, we would need to do longitudinal studies. So we are somewhere, but we need to do much more. So without much ado, I'd call the next presenter. Her name is Lois Gare. Lois is a research scientist at the National Museum, and her area of research is in molecular genetics. She's going to give us a presentation on characterization of Catha edulis. Let's put our hands together for Lois as she comes to the podium.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. My name is Lois Ngari, and I'm here to present my research finding, the one that I did in 2015 for my master's. This is in support of Mira industry in Kenya by National Museums of Kenya, where I work. My title was Characterization of Mira, Catha edulis. And yeah, next slide, please. So my specific title was Phenotypic and Genetic Characterization of Catha edulis. This was important because this is cat, but ideally the way Mira from Embu and Mira from Meru look different. So that is why I decided to characterize it phenotypically or morphologically, and then genetically, so that I check if it's the same species. Is it that there are many cultivars or many varieties? And so that is what led me to check on that specific objective. Next. Cat or Catha edulis belongs to the family Cerastrae and also belongs to the genus Catha and species edulis. Thus, Catha edulis. The common name is Mira in Meru. That's the name they use in Meru. And then Mogoka is the name they use in Embu County. This plant is native in Africa and some other parts of Middle East. The plant is used as medicine, like the antibacterial, antiviral. It's also used for euphoric. Also used as a psychostimulant and also used for cultural use. So besides there is the pictures of harvested Mogoka and harvested Mira. Next. What led me to this this work was because the user's knowledge of this plant is only limited to narcotic effects, and hence no genetic or morphological characterization has been done. So, because of this, farmers have obtained different cultivars from various sources, and this has resulted to mixed population. So when this is done, this was done, this will help the crop leaders, and also it will help in the future improvement of this particular crop. Next. My objectives were to determine the phenotypic diversity in Meru and Embu County, to determine the genetic variation again in the cultivars grown in Meru and Embu counties. Next. On my methodology, this is what I did. I collected samples from Embu County, actually in 2 counties in Embu, and also in all counties, sub-counties in Meru. So I subjected them for DNA extraction, and I used the protocol that has been recommended by Dodel et al. Then, after extraction by DNA, I also did the quantification of the genomic DNA, where again I subjected it to the PCR or polymer PCR amplification. Then I did the gel electrophoresis, where I also did now the documentation, I did the documentation and then the data analysis. For the phenotypic characterization, I looked at various traits like the leaf length, the leaf wind, the filament wind, and I used like 13 traits so that I look for the phenotypic measurement. So I did a data analysis. Let's go to the results. Next slide for the results. So when I did the analysis, I used the Minitab software for the phenotypic data analysis. And then for the genotypic analysis, I used the Power Marker, the GeneAlert software, and also the Darwin. Next. For the phenotypic characterization, the traits that I used were the ones indicated there, the leaf length, the leaf wind, all those things that are involved in the morphology. So I was able to check on the leaf and say, this is the length of this leaf, this is the leaf margin, and hence I came up with so I collected those parameters, and then I was able to check on their values, and from my results, you can see most of them there was no significant difference, and so samples from Meru, samples also from Embu, they were really no significant difference because their samples like Motemotere is from Embu. And then something like Keragetune and Kerakiero, yeah, from Meru, but you find that sometimes they even clustering at one place, meaning that the genetically there's not much difference. Next. So on the phenotypic characterization, I did this dendrogram. And if you check at this, you can see those varieties or those cultivars. In Meru and Embu, they clustered together, and that is why you see Kerakiero together, clustering together with Mogokafo. This is because despite the different geographical regions, those two cultivars will still classify the same, and hence you saying that there was no significant difference between Muhoka from Embu and Mira from Meru. Next. This is still on the phenotypic characterization. I was also able to check on this principal component analysis, and it still gave me the same answer. Next. For the genetic characterization, I was checking on the allele frequency allele number, gene diversity, and also the polymorphic characterization. So on this again, you're able to tell that these are the markers that I used. I used the 5 SSR markers. And these markers, I was able to say that when you use markers, you're able to differentiate your various varieties and you're able to get an answer again based on the answer that you're saying. This is one species, Cata edulis. Let's go to the next. This is still on the genetic characterization. This is the neighbor joining tree. And this neighbor joining tree, clearly you can see that varieties, different cultivars clustered together despite the different geographical regions. That is why Kerakiro and Mutemotere and samples from Meru and Embu clustered the same. Next. The principal coordinate analysis still give us the same answer. Let's go to the next slide. This is the same when I use the analysis of molecular variance. Still is the same. Answer to get that the significant difference was less. Next. Conclusion is that the phenotypic diversity shown considerable variability. 2 clusters were formed, and again, the study reaffirmed the power of SSR markers in the use of genetic diversity. Genetic diversity was within the range obtained in the others. Then, another conclusion is that cat population from different geographical regions do not cluster based on its origin and the different local names that were given. Next, suggestions for further studies. The phenotypic variation in Cata edulis along different growth intervals should be determined. Influence on the environment to different morphological descriptors should be obtained. Also, it's good to look on the genotyping by sequencing, which can be conducted on the different cultivars based on the geographical region. Also, research on biochemical characterization. So I think the phenotypic and genetic characterization. So it's also important to check on biochemical characterization on various cultivars varieties. And this could be done for the purpose of selecting high production or high productivity cultivar. Also, it's also good to suggest that research on biochemical factors contributing to production and marketing of cat varieties should also be done in different geographical regions. Next, I acknowledge the National Museums of Kenya, particularly the Molecular Genetic Laboratory. Thank you.
Thanks. Let's give her a warmer clap. So from her presentation, we hear there's still need for further research so that we can know which type of cat is needed to be produced in higher quantities for marketing. So we'll move to the next presenter, and pardon me, Dr. Karau, because I call Safari Agure to give us her presentation, then I'll call you. Ms. Safari Agure is a senior research officer in the area of public health. She does knowledge management and knowledge translation. She has over 10 years of experience in this area, and she has a master's in business administration. So her current interest is in evidence-informed decision and policy making. She'll be giving us her presentation on cat growing and chewing and its associations with schooling in Meru and Embu counties of Kenya. Safari, the floor is yours. Let's clap for her. She comes. That's all.
Okay. Good afternoon, all. I acknowledge the presence of our governor here and the dignitaries from the county and the rest of us, protocols observed, I believe. Now, I'm part of the group that was supported by the ad hoc CAT committee to undertake a study in Meru and Embu. Actually, Honorable Kajuju is one who founded us, and I'm going to be presenting, will allow me, on the social side. We've had a lot about biology and a lot of biochemistry, and all. Now I'm going to talk about the social issues with cat growing, and specifically among the school children or the school going or education department. So next slide, the first slide, please. Okay, that is my agenda for today, or my outline. I'm going to give you the background or an introduction to this topic, the objectives of our study, methodology, the results. We had themes that occurred, negative and positive. I'll give those. And then we'll compare with some few other studies done in Kenya in the same areas, some conclusions and recommendations. Next, please. Okay, well, this background we had from all of us this morning, so I don't think I need to belabor it. So, of course, it has got a lot of economic, it's okay. With a lot of socioeconomic benefits for with Mira and Mogoka, and is exported, although we are hearing some markets now are closed, but we're going to deal with that. Now, I noted that there are few studies have been conducted in this area, especially when dealing with children and school. We've been talking about biomarkers, we've been talking about the chemistry and the phytochemistry, but no one is really going to look at what's happening in our schools or to our young children as they're going to school within this area. Next. Our objective, and I need to mention this was part of the bigger study, and Ngeri talked about it. This is just the qualitative part of the bigger study. That's why we handled the social issues. And we had other issues with family, even production issues, but now I'm reporting only on the school. So we went to explore the influence of Mira growing and chewing to the attitudes, the perceptions, and the experience of school children as well as their teachers. Next. This was our methodology. Basically, the whole study was a mixed method study, but the qualitative arm, which is what I'm reporting on, was based on something or a concept called phenomenology, where we embed ourselves within the community and be part of community and interview them and be part of them. Next. In terms of more of the methodology, those are the sites in Meru that we went to. We went to Gembe, both north, central, south, and we went to Tigania. The responses were from school. We did both primary school and high school. And as I said, there were students themselves as well as their teachers. Of course, we handled issues of ethics because these are the minors, the under 18s. We had to talk to under 18s. So there's some issues of ethics there, which we handled and were allowed to. And then, of course, analysis of the work was done thematically. We didn't use any software. We did manual analysis. And we represented our reports in narratives. Next. Now, in terms of the results, we were able to roughly quantify the number of children who are involved in farm work. We call it farm work, not child labor yet. Now, 86.8% of children in that area, in primary school and both in secondary school, are involved in one way or another in the farms, in Mira and the Woka farms. 5 major themes occurred or emerged, and these were either negative or positive associations. Again, I repeat what Ngeri said, associations, not causative. And we know that we cannot delink growing from chewing. So these children who are already in the farms, growing, picking, weeding, all that, are already chewing. And you had that even less than 10 years old are already chewing because they're involved in the farms. Next. Now, I'll start with the negatives. Interruptions in school or class interruptions. Difficulty in concentrating, which was mentioned, again, has come up. Retention in school. There is actually statistics that show the retention of schools from Form 1 to Form 4, that the numbers dwindle as they go to Form 4, because most of them are now going towards commercializing or to business or farming in the Mira industry. Complete absenteeism from school. This could be a full day, a full term, full week. And what we noted is that the students do not, especially the high school students, don't tell the teachers why they're not there. So there's that also disregard for schooling and even for their teachers. They miss classes or they completely drop out from school. And of course, this has impacts on their academic performance. Next. Now, continuation of the negative, the lure of money, because Mira has a lot of money, even as it is currently. So many of the children are being lured because of the money to get into this industry much earlier than finishing school. There's the issue of child labor. Now, according to ILO, the International Labour Organization, there's a difference between child work and child labor. And within this, this is one of the areas we need more research to determine whether our children actually engage in child labor or child work or child just normal chores in the home. That was not very clear. Now, they also, many of the children, because this being a poor or a rural area, they need to support their siblings. So you find the older children are going into trading or this market so they can get money to support their younger siblings in the same schools. But unfortunately, the younger siblings are just following what the older ones are doing. So there were social inequities that caused that. There's poverty. There's early marriages. This affects our girls a lot because many of them are following the young boys who have now money. Unsupportive parents, guardians, or what we call neglect from community members. Many of these children are actually working in farms of their family farms. And their parents, their guardians know that these children are in the farm and not in school, but they're doing nothing about it. Now, leadership gaps, when I'm talking about now exactly what I've just mentioned, the administration, the chiefs, they like a turn a blind eye to these children being in the farms rather than being in school. The teachers themselves don't know how to get these children back to school. And I hear now there's that clamor for 100% children transiting to schools. That is a problem. The attitudes of the children I talked about, they disregard the school and their teachers. Some of the teachers were even reporting that the students abuse them because they have money in their pockets and they say, I can even buy you. So what are you teaching me? Yes, there were some positives, I agree. Though minimal, but they were there. Social development, or what we call maendeleo. As I said, some of them were actually making money for their siblings. And social development has been seen, even they were showing us houses that they've built, the things that they've done. Some people now have pro box, things like that. So social development has been done through the Mira money. They also mentioned, which is now contradictory, that the money is supporting schools. They've built schools, they've employed teachers. So that's contradictory. So they're building schools, but students are not coming to those schools. And of course, as I said, they improved educational facilities. Next. Now, I took the liberty to look at other studies within MERI and EMBO that maybe would say the same or say something different. But unfortunately, it's the same thing. There's a focus on dropout rates in all the studies. And according to these studies, you can see there, Kimondo, Gatere, Muda, Njeru, Minli, and Meru, they say at least 94.4%, according to the teachers, are affected of the students. And they're employed as casuals. Some of these students, even as we're hearing, even from the children themselves, they're not paid. Some of them are working the uncle, the auntie's farm, and they're not paid. They're just told to go to uncle so and do the work. So they work as casuals. They may be paid minimal or may not be paid. They pick or do petty work, the wrapping of the Mira and the cutting of the leaves, whatever. And so my question is that, could we associate this with Mira? That's a question mark. It's a question we can ask ourselves and see. Next. Now, in other studies, this one I found this interesting. This is one of the studies. This is actually someone called Mira. And they focused on study enrollment. And they did now a longitudinal study in the same Meru. And they looked at enrollment studies in 2011 from class 1, this is primary school, all the way to class 8. So you see, we lose a lot of our children in standard 5, standard 6. That's where we're losing a lot of children. So when it comes to standard 8, you find the ones who finish in school are 47 from the original standard 1 enrollment of 760. And though it has not been done clearly, but the same trend is even worse in high school. We continue. My conclusions. Yes, we have negative influences in the schooling environment of this Mira growing and chewing. and they far outweigh the benefits within that arena of schooling. Now, to achieve the universal literacy and 100% transition goals that our government, national as well as county, have, we need to mitigate these issues. What I note is that, yes, in the morning we had a lot of positive things, we can do this, we can do that, but we should not bury our heads in the sand that there are no negatives. We do have them. The positive thing is that we can mitigate them. We can solve these problems or avoid these problems. So, unfortunately, also, the boy child is disadvantaged in this area. We talked about the boy child being the ones who are dropping out more. Even I think Gary talked about the boy child being chewing even more. So the boy child is disadvantaged, and we need programs and policies to address this before it gets worse. Next. Okay, I have a few recommendations. I have recommendations that may go towards policy and others that may go towards practice. Now, in terms of child labor, that is the biggest thing. We need to outlaw it within the Mira sector or within the county. Once we outlaw it, the policy, then you know actually prosecution and monitoring will be done. But so far there's a gap, so there's no law that's outlawing these children being in the farms. So there's liberty for people to use them. Now, laws and commensurate guidelines which are anchored in the policies should be there. Now, food child work, question mark, because we need to define what child work is, limitations of child work, because most of the parents are saying, no, hiyo ni kazi ya nyumbani. Like the farm belongs to the family, so they need to work in the farm. So we need to demarcate what the child can do and what the child cannot do even within the home. We need to reprimand parents or guardians or adults who involve children willingly in farming or in the farms against their going to school. Now, the school curriculum itself needs to be revised, or curriculum needs to be put in place to provide knowledge on the association between substance use, now I'm using substance, not just Mira alone, and other hard drugs which are in and their schooling. That environment or that association needs to be actually taught in school so that the children know from earlier on to avoid getting to those situations. Next. Lastly, for policy, school staffing. Now, we used to have, when I was in school earlier, we used to have guidance and counseling, and we had some serious places that we would go when we had problems. But right now in the school, this issue of counseling or guidance or talking is really minimized. For some reason, something happened. I think we need to bring back these people in the school so they can deal with this issue. Ongeri was talking about maybe depression, psychosis, anxiety. It's there. So these children need to have a place or an outlet within the school environment that even if they're already affected in some of these things, they need an outlet in school where they can address their problems before they profilate. Next. In terms of practice, child labor practice, enforcement and monitoring of the available restrictions if they are there, and taking care of or addressing irresponsible parenting stroke guidance, handling Mira from the farm to transport to users. We need to engage community members themselves, who are also the parents, and the administrators, the chiefs and the elders to address this at that point. In terms of programs, we need to work for awareness among the community, the public. The public is all the parents, all the teachers, all the students, all the leaders on schooling and possible negative associations with CAT and how to mitigate that before they get to a point where we cannot do anything about it. School-based as well as community-based advocacy and initiation rights. Now, when it comes to initiation rights, the rights of initiation where Mira is used. And the timing of this in terms of the children, this has been documented in other literature. Children at what age are being initiated? Because, the boys feel once they've been initiated, they're men. And when you have them as men, that's where the disregard even comes in when they're school with their teachers or they disregard with their seniors. So the timing of these rights maybe needs to be looked at again in light of the Mira situation. Okay, the last slide, next. Yeah, training, sensitization on the issue. We need champions to guard against this, or what we call knowledge brokers to guard against this, keep talking the same language, keep talking the same language to the people who need to be hearing it. We need affirmative action for the boy child. Not just in Mira by the way, because as social scientists, we've seen so many issues around the boy child. So we need affirmative action. We need evidence, more research. Localized application of what we call the social learning theory, which says that children learn from modeling, from what they see the elders doing is what they do. So if they are seeing they are being allowed to see that money is made through Mira, for example, maybe that perception needs to be changed. I said research, and research specifically among school children to determine prevalence, because we don't know the prevalence of this problem in Meru. Next. Thank you. So let's remove children from the Mira chain completely. I'd like to acknowledge the funding from the national government and the committee, the ad hoc committee for 2013, to give us that chance. KEMRI for allowing us to go to the field and do it. Community members, teachers, students for allowing us to talk to you and give us the results. Thank you.
Okay, thanks so much, Sapari. I think your results are in black and white. So you may want to take a seat in case there'll be a few questions for you. But at this point, did we clap for you? We can clap for her. She's given us something very interesting. At this juncture, I'd wish to call Dr. Karau Bundi. She's coming back. Dr. Karau Bundi, who is a consultant physician and also a PhD student in the area of neurosciences. He'll be giving us his presentation on acute and chronic effects of CAT on mental health. This is a review of literature. Karibu, Daktari.
Thank you very much, the session chair, the governor, and all protocol observed. My name is Bundi Karau, and my brief is simple: to review the existing literature on mental health aspects of Mira, both acute and chronic. First of all, issue and disclaimer: I'm a physician by training. I see many patients, and most of the literature on mental health effects, especially the deleterious effects, are from anecdotal or observational studies and case reports. But I see very many patients, and I'm yet to see one who has mental health effects from Mira. Next slide. So I'm going to look at a brief history of Mira and chemical composition, and in a language you can understand, and cut at the brain level, and both beneficial and deleterious mental effects. Next slide. So basically, let me start by saying that Mira is a cultural crop. Let's go to the next slide. It's a cultural crop, and it has been in existence for centuries. It's even listed in some writings from ancient Egypt, and of late has become an important economic crop in Kenya, Ethiopia, and Yemen. But most of the controversy actually it's around its mental health effects. I think that's where we are painted negatively for Mira. And when I was doing this literature review, because my brief was to look at all the studies done on Mira on mental health effects, I asked myself, is it different from other psychostimulants like tea and coffee? Because I know when we live here, we're going to take a cup of tea, not because of the vitamins there, but because of the psychostimulant effects, right? Next slide. So the leaves, this one has been spoken about this morning, that the leaves contain many chemicals, but the chief ones that are actually the areas of controversy are the alkaloids, that is cathinone and cathyne. We know that cathinone is an unstable compound, and it decays within a short time. No wonder our drivers have to drive very fast, because the chewers want cathinone, not cathyne. Both have the same effect, but cathyne is less potent. Although Mira has much more cathyne, 4 times cathyne than cathinone, we are actually looking for the acute effects of cathinone when we chew the green leaves. Next slide. So let's go to cat in the brain. And I remember Mheshimiwa Mutunga asking about the amphetamines. Amphetamines are stimulants, which is a drug, marketed as a drug, a stimulant drug, although it has some medical uses. We use it as doctors. And most of the effects of Mira are known because it looks like an amphetamine. It has amphetamine-like structure and the properties, And how the amphetamines work is that they upregulate or they increase two chemicals in the brain, dopamine and catecholamines. Catecholamines are the chemicals which give the body a kick. Like if you hear a gunshot and you have to run away, it's because catecholamines increase in your body. So what Mira does, it increases these two chemicals, and that's why it gives a stimulating effect, a burst of energy, and actually that is why it is consumed. Can we go to the next slide? There have been studies that have said on long-term effects that we're going to see. Go to the next slide. So what are the benefits and why do people chew cats? And so these are the results. Mental stimulation, which is subjective, increased physical endurance and self-esteem and social interaction. That's why it's a cultural crop. It's not most of the time chewed by individuals intact in their rooms, by people in a gathering. And although cathine is the main alkaloid, as I've said, cathinone is the more potent one. And the effects are not only in the brain, but also in the cardiovascular system. When the brain kicks, the two chemicals are released. The heart also has to pump more, the blood vessels have to deliver more blood to give the body energy. And those are the two things, cathine and cathinone. Next slide. So usually the benefits that while attaining a state of subjective mental well-being, the chewers feel an increased alertness and energy together with the enhanced depth of perception. And these effects are usually almost immediate because most of the absorption of Mira is actually in the mouth. It does not have to go to the stomach to be absorbed, just like some other drugs we know that we put under the tongue. The absorption starts in the mouth, and within a short time, the effects kick in. And these pleasurable stimulant properties of cat are believed to improve work capacity and are used on journeys and by students preparing for examinations and to counteract fatigue. I think those are the acute benefits of Mira. And the amount and pattern of consumption varies from what we call a pick-me-up in the morning, like when we take a cup of tea, to students, shift workers, and long-haul lorry drivers who use it more during the day to ward off sleep and fatigue. And as I've said, it leads to euphoria, alertness, and improved vigilance. And if we were to compare cat to other psychostimulants, the ones we take mostly like tea and coffee, which contain caffeine, the effects are actually the same. And the benefits of cat on community mental health. I wish the psychiatrist was here because there's an aspect we call community mental health. The whole community can be sick. So does cat have any benefits on community mental health? Yes. It improves social cohesion and participation during the sessions. Most of these people are very good friends. Reduces tension and stress in social settings, and this eventually improves communal feeling. And this effect may eventually translate to better brain health for communities. Let's go on. So beyond phenylalanine, this is just a difficult name for the cathinone and the cathine. Cat is rich in many other chemicals. And the chemist from JQR told us about flavonoids, steroids, glycosides, tannins, amino acids, and vitamins. I'll pick on two. Flavonoids are potent antioxidants, and they are being used in the management of degenerative diseases like in the brain and also Parkinson's disease, including to attempt and reverse the effects of aging on the brain. And Mira has a very high, concentration of flavonoids. The good thing is that these ones don't decay like cathinone. Then there are tannins. Tannins are, if I were to put it simply, what makes something repellent. Like if you go and chew green tea leaves, they are bitter. It's because of the tannins. So tannins are found mostly in tea, but also in Mira. If you taste it's not straight sweet, there is some taste to protect it. And they also have antioxidant properties and reduce brain inflammation and reduce incidence of depression. These are studies that have been done on these chemicals when they are isolated alone. But we know many drugs we use in the clinical setting have these flavonoids and tannins, and we know that the amount of flavonoids and tannins in cat are very high. Oh my God, my tannins. Now, now flavonoids stop all these processes. They stop by every arrow with that T is a stop. They stop behavioral impairments. They stop decreases in cognitive function. They stop cell death, inflammation. These are the processes that lead to dementia and eventually death. And usually they are stopped by flavonoids, which is one of the chemicals in cat. Let's go on. And now we go to the deleterious effects. And most research focused on cathinone and its analogs to incriminate Mira in mental disease. And evidence from experimental research is lacking, with most associations drawn from animal studies. So they feed rats, cats, very high doses, and then they look at the behavior, it can find its way if it gets depressed. Most of the research is from there, and I'm not joking because my PhD research is actually on Mira in animals. And most cat users went up with deleterious mental effects, combine it with cigarette smoking, glue sniffing, alcohol use, and betel chewing. That is where the problem actually is. And high doses of fresh cat taken over more than 4 hours may also cause bad effects. The same way, if you took high doses of tea or coffee over many hours, it can also cause bad effects. Actually, there is a dosage of cats, and in animals, we know a dosage of more than 300 milligrams per kilo body weight is actually harmful. You can translate that to human doses. Next slide. So every legal substance, be it alcohol, tea, coffee, yerba mate from Argentina, have a threshold of acceptable and problematic use. And I think what we are promoting here is acceptable use. And mental disease is associated with problematic use. If I go to the end of this presentation, you'll see what is problematic use. And this should not negate the fact that acceptable use may be beneficial economically, socially, culturally, and health-wise. Actually, when the WHO defines health, all these things, economic, social, cultural, the body physique are included. When people are financially deprived, they are actually sick. Next slide. So these are some of the studies I've told you I've come across, and most of them are actually been used to describe Miraa. Miraa can cause a form of functional psychosis following consumption of highly potent material, especially overdoses, when taken in excess or in a predisposed individual. If an individual takes it with alcohol, with betels, it can cause all these psychotic features, not psychotic disease, because to get a psychotic disease, you need a criteria. And most of the times, these studies are flashbacks. Next slide. So in comparison with amphetamine, which is a banned substance, a class C drug, cat is much less likely to cause tolerance. Tolerance means when you take the drug, next time you have to take a bigger dose to get the same effect, and it becomes a spiral and eventually causes what we call dependence. And dependence can be physiological or psychological. Physiological is the body needs it. Like alcoholics who don't get alcohol in the morning, they are shaking, that is physiological dependence. But there is also psychological dependence whereby you feel your brain, you feel you're missing something in your brain, but your body is not responding in one way or the other. Cat does not cause physiological dependence, but it can actually cause psychological dependence. Next slide. How does cat compare with tea and coffee, caffeine? Similarities have been found in psychological dependence, but there is more physical dependence in tea and coffee. I'm sure some of us here, if you don't take a morning cup of tea, you'll get a headache. Similarity in beneficial and deleterious effects on the brain have also been observed. There is actually no difference in the deleterious effects of cat compared to coffee and tea. And the major difference is the social setting when using tea or coffee compared to Mira, and the likelihood of using either of them with other substances, and the likelihood of overdosing. Next slide. These are my conclusions. So, number one, cat is associated with a burst of positive energy in the brain, which is crucial for accomplishing some of the works we do. And other chemicals in cat, apart from the alkaloids, may be responsible for beneficial effects. We've talked about antioxidants. Excessive and prolonged use may impact on mental health. And most adverse effects are based on observations, not experimental research. There is need to conduct more research on holistic mental health effects of cat and the optimal dosage of Mira. Next slide. So there is need to balance acceptable cat use versus problematic use. Cat use is problematic if there is impairment. It causes impairment in social and occupational functioning. It causes loss of control in the use of cat. The user cannot control how much they can use and when they can use it. And also with withdrawal symptoms, check in when not using cat. If that comes in, that is problematic use, and then we have to deal with it. But from my research, problematic use of cat is associated with others. The people who go to this problematic use usually are jobless or they are battling other problems, not because of Mira itself. So there's a compelling need by protagonists, that's the government and stakeholders, to promote acceptable use and belabor the point that equivalents like tea and coffee also have acceptable and problematic use. Next slide. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Dr. for your presentation. We'll hold on for a few questions from you at the end. I'd like to go straight to the last presenter. This is Eunice Chelogoi. Eunice, is a lecturer at Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology in the Department of Clinical Medicine, and she's also a PhD student in the School of Public Health in the same university. Eunice will be giving us a presentation on characteristics of oral health outcomes of cat chewing youth in Igembe County, sub-county, Meru County. Eunice, the floor is yours. Let's clap for her. She comes. She's the last presenter, so.
Thank you for this opportunity. The governor of Meru County and all the leaders in the house, members from Meru and friends of the county, I salute you all. I'm grateful for this opportunity to present part of a study that was carried out by Dennis Miriti, who has also presented part of the work. With the background of information, we have already heard a lot about CAT, and it has so many names. I've learned new names, that it is the green gold of Meru. So I should add on to that. But we've been told all this, that it started as an East African and Arabic countries' indigenous product. And because of the migrations and because of its because of our interactions with the global world, it is now a global phenomenon. So we've already been told that it is an amphetamine and it has psychostimulant effect. And it is chewed by many people in the world, up to 10 million people globally. Uses, it alleviates fatigue. It helps people to stay alert, as we've been told about the long distance drivers. It reduces hunger and induces euphoria, which is actually what is making us alive in this house now. We are still energetic because I'm told most of us chew Mira. I hope by the time I leave this house, I'll have tested from that, from the exhibition. So the prevalence has been found in Ethiopia to be up to 58%. This is the overall prevalence of Mira chewing in Ethiopia. In Kenya, a study by Ongeri, who presented earlier, came up with an overall prevalence of 36.8%. Our study has a higher prevalence. What was reported to have, a cat was reported to have medicinal properties from a conference that was presented by KEMRI scientists, and it showed that it has some medicinal properties that can be a game changer in the region, in terms of health and the economic sector. And we've been told about some of those properties this morning. However, there are reports from other studies that have associated cat with some psychological dependence, some mood changes, and oral problems, among others. Next slide. So in the statement of the problem for this study, we saw that oral diseases is affecting others in the world, up to 35 billion people. So it is not only in Kenya and Meru. And cat farms in Kenya and Meru especially provide an important work for the people in Meru, and also income for the country's youth. Meru being one of the growing cat regions in Kenya, we use it a lot as a cash crop, and we've been told about all those benefits. So some studies, however, have linked this cat use to some dental disorders, and that is the reason why we conducted this study. Next slide. We've also been told that we have received a lot of boost from the government in terms of financing that can help Mira farmers to access cheaper loans, up to 180 million shillings in the year 2020, and even more. And this, of course, is promoting the industry. So we also have youth in Igembe who have unlimited access to cat. Using the 2018 report of the KDF, which was a motivator for this study, that reported that most of the youth in Igembe were turned away because some report of decayed teeth, missing teeth, and low academic standard at that point. So that is what prompted this study to be done. And also, we've been promised that the market is going to be opened. So it means with opening of the market, more youth are going to engage into Mira farming and also its use. Next slide. In the justification for the study, if we identify the risk factors that may be associated with poor oral health among our youth, then it can help us to tackle those risk factors, and this can help us into achieving the universal health coverage, which is part of the 4 agenda. And Meru County government may also formulate or use some of the results to come up with some policies that can improve oral health in the region, not necessarily related to Mira. There is also limited data on Mira chewing and oral health in Kenya, and this can be used as a baseline study. So the objectives for the study were to determine the characteristics and oral health outcomes of Mira chewing in Igembe County. And the specific objectives, we were mainly looking at the socioeconomic characteristics of the cat chewing youth, the lifestyle characteristics, and tried to determine the oral health outcomes of these youth. So we were targeting, next slide, we targeted youth of 18 to 35 years through a cross-sectional study design, which is a week study, a study that you just go to the participants, you get data at one point in time. So we may not be able to get so much evidence from this. The sample size was 340, and we did a simple random sample. From 15 wards, we selected 4 wards which formed the clusters where we got the participants. We used a questionnaire, and also the youth were examined by dental examiners. Next slide. So that is the formula we used to get the sample size, and from each of the wards, we selected a number of the participants. Next slide. In the methodology, continuation, this is just how we analyzed the data, and it was also ethically approved through KNH and UON Ethics Committee. Next slide. So on the results, just the characteristics, we found that the participants were mostly of male gender, 54%. Next slide. The age distribution for the studied participants, we found that majority were between 23 and 27 years, forming 52%. Next slide. Marital status, majority were single at that age, forming up to 52%. Next slide. When we looked at the level of education, we found that majority had primary level of education at 75%. And this concurs with many studies that have been presented this morning. Next slide. On the occupation, majority of our youth were engaging in business at 46%. And the monthly income for most of these youth was ranging between 1,000 to 10,000 shillings. Yes, next. Then we also wanted to find out about Nhif enrollment, which has been rolled out at the county level, to see how much we are able to reach and provide healthcare to the youth. And we found that majority were not enrolled in Nhif, 85%. Next. We also wanted to find out about their lifestyle habits in terms of cigarette smoking, and we found that up to 34% are smoking, have been smoking. Some former smokers, others are current smokers. 66% have not smoked. This is tobacco. Then we tried to look at the type of tobacco, and we found that Uber is one of the commonest used tobacco, which is a smokeless tobacco. This has already been presented. Next. For alcohol use, we found that 56% were currently consuming alcohol. Next slide. Now, the prevalence of Mira chewing was at 88%. So majority of the youth are chewing, at least have had access to chew Mira. Yes. So we looked also at the substances, which we think is a risk factor for dental caries. And we found that many of them are chewing, but they're also chewing with sweeteners to counteract the bitter taste of Mira. So they are using sweets, chewing gum, and sugary tea and coffee. Next slide. Frequency of tooth cleaning. We looked at the dental hygiene practices, and we found that Many of the participants were actually not brushing their teeth regularly. This is another risk factor that can be addressed. Next slide. This has already been presented that we only have 47% using a toothbrush. Majority of them were using means that may not be very much promoting oral health. Next. We also looked at those who are able to rinse their mouth after they take those carcinogenic foods, the foods that have those sugary content. And we found that up to 50% forget to do it. This could be another risk factor. Visiting dental clinics, we found that only 38% had had a visit in the last 1 year. This slide has been presented. It gives us the number of dental youth that had dental caries. We had a total of 62% prevalence. And next slide. Gum disease was up to 47%. Next slide. Tooth extractions, many of the youth had actually had more than 5 extractions, 48%. So we also looked at the oral health status, and we found majority were classified as having poor oral health status. Next. There was association in age, male gender, and Mira chewing with sweeteners. Please note it is Mira chewing with sweeteners that was associated with dental caries. Next slide. Next slide. Yeah. So this is just the odds. What is the likelihood of someone developing dental caries if they chewed Mira with sweeteners and those who chewed without sweeteners? And we found that those who chew Mira with sweeteners had an odds of 62.5% more likely to get dental caries compared to those who chew without sweeteners. Next. For the discussion is mainly the summary of what I have presented, but we've seen that the prevalence is high of Mira chewing. Yes, there is a problem of dental caries and gum disease, but also we've seen the association with the factors like toothbrushing was a problem. We've also seen a problem with the use of sweeteners, and we've also seen a challenge where there's a bit of maybe people are not able to access healthcare because they don't have NHIF, and maybe that is why they are not going for dental checkups. Next. Next slide. So next slide. Yeah, in my conclusion, cat chewing is a prevalent practice, and the characteristics of youth were mainly male, they were single, with primary level of education, with a low socioeconomic status, they also smoke and take alcohol. They also have poor oral health practices, which can be addressed. Dental caries and gum diseases were common. Majority have no NHIF cover. Next. In my recommendation, we thought that to promote oral health through education in schools, which can be done to the schools to the children so that they understand the role of oral hygiene and the proper practices, and also avoidance of sweeteners. To improve education level among the youth, and also the county of Mary would maybe try to increase checkups on the oral hygiene of the people in Meru, and also come up with rehabilitative dental services in the county that can help those ones who are already having a challenge, but not because of Mira. There could be other issues. And then I'm also recommending further rigorous studies on the role of carcinogenic foods on oral health outcomes based on the findings we've just had. Thank you.
So thank you so much for your presentation. It's also in black and white. We have listened and we have heard. We can give her a better round of applause. She's done a good job. At this point, we need to rearrange and maybe have an open session, plenary. Now we can ask all the presenters who presented in the morning, if they are still around, to come to the podium, and then we can have questions from the floor. In case we have any to our presenters, this is the time to ask questions and interrogate what they have presented. So those people who are here in the morning and are still around, who had presented, you're welcome to the front. If there are any questions for you, or they could be posed where you are. However, for you, you can remain here in case they have questions to ask you. This is open now. Yes, we'll have someone to send the mic around. There's a hand over there. Right there.
Thank you very much. Missions one is the citation of the KGF, what they found out when they were recruiting. I'm asking that maybe, I don't know that they published, or how does that information have an authority to be put in a scientific research? That is one. The second one is the chemical composition of the Mira, whereby I have heard most of the presenters, they have talked of leaves. I'm one of the Mira chewers, and we normally chew the twigs. We peel off the skin of the twig. I wish somebody has a Mira here, please, so that the presenters can see. So I'm wondering, maybe next time we also shift the focus on that. Like myself, we remove the leaves, and then after removing the leaves, now we chew actually the skin of the tree. So maybe the focus should be more on that. Yes, this is it. Now we remove the leaves. We don't chew the leaves. We peel these parts. This is the part that we chew, the skin of the tree. So we don't deal with the leaves here, as you can see. So I wish maybe we can be given more information, maybe by tomorrow, with more focus on not now on the leaves. Leaves maybe is mocha, but when it comes to Mira, we eat these ones. If I'm going to eat this one, I have to remove all these leaves, and then after removing the leaves, I peel round, I leave a piece that is somehow white. You leave it without anything, you are peeling. So we chew this part now, which is like the skin of the twig. So maybe we can have also more focus on this part now which we chew rather than the leaves. Thank you very much.
So, excuse me, as you ask your question, kindly point out to the person who had that presentation. I think KDF was you. KDF. But let's take another two or so.
Okay, thank you. Okay, there's this part of norepinephrine from Mira on the carcinol and the casein. For example, the norepinephrine affects the absorption and the production of catecholamines to increase the blood flow to the head, the heart, and the lungs. That deprives the blood flow to the intestines. That means metabolism of the food eaten is lowered. So after taking cut, those 3 hours after taking cut, then the catecholamines uptake increases, and the production and the increase from norepinephrine is also reduced. So that means the flow of blood to the brain slows. So you want to force a brain that has been triggered to overact to continue the same rate after the trigger has been removed. Did you consider that? There's one thing here. There's this part here, the effect of drought and fertility on leaf color for the phenotypic classification of other diseases. I know different cat cultivars from different regions can produce the same size of leaves, and they are affected by fertility. You can move a cat cultivar from a mountainous area and plant it in a plain area, and they will have different phenotypic classifications. Then I may ask, during the classification. Did you consider the climatic conditions of the areas? Did you consider drought? Did you consider the season? Or you just picked cat and then generalized that those are the effects of cat in Mira? Then I also ask, during your study, did you encounter a cat cultivar named Lainene Etiliko Keyo Bainasli? You only considered Kila Kero, Kila Kiro, Kedara, you did consider Keyo. Which part of menu did you collect your data? Is your data a full representation of Mira cultivars in Meru County? There is this association of cat chewing to schooling. Still, I may ask here, is puberty the problem or cat growing? So if students drop out of school because of lack of fees, and they go to Mira business to cater for school fees, is the problem puberty or growing of Mira? Puberty. So you are directing the problem of poverty to cat growing. Yeah. Then let me ask, could you prepare a situation where the money to pay school fees, or could you prepare a situation where there is no money to pay for school fees? Let me ask you, which is this about the government? One, government providing fees for children in the KEMRI region who depend on Mira, or government providing or setting up strict education policies to ensure students go to school? Which is easier? I think you answer that. Yeah. On the same matter, in association of cat chewing to schooling, they need to do a survey on the role of Mira in schooling within a KEMRI at this moment of Mira market crisis. I'm sure if you go to the data from the Ministry of Education right now, the school rollout from the turn up from primary school to secondary school. Yeah, from primary to secondary school is lower than the one that was there in 2017-2018 when the market was normal.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go and take very short time.
Kwa majina mimi naitwa Moroko M. Jafet. Mimi ni organizing secretary wa Nyambene Mira Traders Association. Ni mkulima wa miraa, wanatafuna miraa, nafanya biashara ya miraa. Yangu mimi ni burning issue. Between 2013 and 2015, wakati Njenga alikuwa chairman wa NACADA, waliorodhesha miraa katika listi ya deadly narcotics. Nilienda kotini nikiomba OPB. Ya kwanza nikasema watoe miraa katika listi ya madawa kulevya. Ya pili watulipe loss of levels allowances. Tulifanya case na koti ili rule on our favor. Waliambiwa watoe miraa katika listi ya madawa kulevya. Sasa nashangaa leo hii ni kwa nini tena wanaendelea nayo maneno, ni kama hawatumiki ile uamuzi wa koti. Kama wale ambao muamini muende muangalie ruling ya Justice Majanja. My advocate alikuwa Dr. Kamino na Kurauka. Hiyo ilitoka ile kitu inafaa kufanyika ilikuwa ni kuimplement. Kitu ya pili nataka kukosoa Minister of Trade, ile information nimepeana hapa, amesema miraa haijapewa standards. Nimewasiliana na chairman wa KEBs, anaitwa Engineer Bernard Gore from Meru, ameniambia tarehe 13 July May this year miraa imepewa standards like any other product. Ile kitu imebaki ni kutoa stickers za KEBs ambazo zinafaa kuwa zinawekwa wakati wa processing na packaging. Kitu ya tatu ambayo ni burning issue. Ile sida tuko nayo hapa si kwa sababu sio hata ya science, ni political issue. Zile hizi zote ambazo miraa imefungwa
nchi zingine zinauza miraa kule. Kama miraa ya Ethiopia inaenda Uingereza, miraa ya Ethiopia inaenda Somalia, miraa ya Ethiopia inaenda Djibouti. Djibouti wana consume 30,000 metric tons every day. Lakini kwa sababu wako na international and political goodwill, wameweza kustrike deal na serikali za consumers. Juzi serikali ya Britain ambayo ni our mama country na ambayo ilikuwa ni soko kubwa yetu ya miraa, wameshika president wetu akamlazimisha kuwa for 25 years serikali ya Britain haitakuwa inalipa tax ikileta bidhaa hiyo katika Kenya. Ni kwa nini president hakuwaambia kabla asaini hiyo nawe turudishe miraa kule bei ya miraa kule Uingereza? Kwa hivyo kitu ambacho tunabaki ni sufficient leadership, a local and international political goodwill. Kule Somalia miraa ya Ethiopia inaenda. Sida yetu ya soko ya miraa na Somalia sio mambo ya science, sio anything else. Ni ugomvi baina ya serikali ya Kenya na Somalia. Hiyo ndio inafaa iishe, tuendelee na soko yetu. Kuna kama president huyu ameshindwa na hiyo, atuambie sisi twende tunyoroze pamoja na soko yetu irudi.
Asante sana.
Haya mambo ya hii report ya science, na nashukuru kama na Director na wale ambao wamefanikisha hii, lakini hapa kwa wana science like 83% of it ni imagination. Meru community ambao tunadili na mambo ya miraa, tuko na wasomi ambao wako na PhDs about chemicals na vitu zingine. Mimi ningetaka tu extend hao watu waongezwe kwa hiyo platform, walete research ambayo ni practical, sio theory. Sijui ni gani ilikuwa inatumika kwa point hao tutumaliza watu ambao wako na mambo hayo, lakini ilikuwa na leo ni kwa sababu ya pesa, najua iko fani. Sasa tunataka wale ndio wenyewe wale hapa. Ya mwisho. Ya mwisho. Sisi kama Nyambene Miraa Traders Association tunajua tuko na 1,300 miraa species and 99 genera or DNA za miraa. Hiyo ni report ambayo inafaa kuwa inaenda pamoja na hii. Na miraa ya Kenya ilikuwa discovered the year 1232 by a pastoralist known as Ntomwambe Ntomwanda Twekapa Choki Tomosoba Tokebakuri Baine. Na kutokea hiyo wakati hatujaye kusikia mtu ambaye amekuwa mwenda wazimu ama pungwani kwa sababu ya mwamba wa miraa. Lakini ilikuwa inaletwa mpaka propaganda ati mtu akitafuna miraa nyumba inalala kama matawi ya kitunguu. Hiyo ni uongo. Ukitafuna miraa unasoma mwenzako kama zarani. So nikimalizia mimi naomba wale ambao wana finance au wale wana recruit au researchers wahakikishe wameongeza watu ambao wana consume miraa, ambao ni wakulima wa miraa, wapeane habari ya kamili. Ya mwisho
tungetaka sasa tujibu. Tuchukue ya mheshimiwa, alafu from there we get comments here and close.
I've requested for 1 minute because I might be stepping out. Sisi ni wanasiasa, lakini tusiingize siasa kwa miraa. Kwa hii kazi ya leo hii, tusiingize siasa. Science is the only indisputable language globally. If you want to convince anyone to open their borders for your to market your products, you must go the scientific way. So, siasa to accept Number 2. Now, Merit, please tell us the difference between whiskey and spirit, so that these people don't get worried when they chase Mira. What did you mean? Because I tend to think they mean more or less the same. The other thing is, you tended to say, and not only you, even I think you have said, you have told us something very significant, that Mira chewing without the sweeteners has better oral health. There must be something in Mira that supports the oral health. We need to know it, the scientists at the house. If we can know that, we will help ourselves a lot better. The characterization by Lois, molecular biologist. Lois, appreciated your study, but you seem to say Mira is the same as Muguka and Muguka is the same as Mira. Yet we know, besides the geography, there is even in characterization, there's something called when you look at the phenotypic characteristics of Mira and Muguka, they are slightly different. Because one is a dwarf crop, the other one is a vibrant growing crop. So I don't know whether you can tell us something more about that. And then when it comes to Muguka, what is consumed? And when it comes to Mira, what is consumed? Those two are important. The leaves and the others are the same. That gentleman asked about the environment which I had captured, and I think when you answer, you will help us a lot in that. The second last is the issue of enrollment. I think it was Chilugui. Chilugui, you showed us some enrollment levels, and I tried to figure it out back from your data. Is it that you are collected from all schools over years, or is it that you are collected? Can you tell us something about how you collected that data? Because the enrollment level seems to decrease with years in terms of from standard 1 to standard 8. If you collected from many schools, probably we might have a strong message. Finally, to our governor, this study is revealing something very important. What we do as Africans, we reveal and expose and release. Then they benefit from us. I don't know who, but you know who are benefited from Africans. I have experience in DR Congo. There are many plants that are medicinal. And there are many countries that have called states within DR Congo where you cannot access, even the Congolese cannot access. If we find Mira is likely to have, which is coming out very strongly, is likely to have some very strong medicinal content. And we are able to extract this medicinal content. Let us not people take it away and build the industries in their countries and take raw materials from us. We are used to selling raw materials as countries. It is time we industrialize by processing our raw materials. So this is one of the things that we need to really guard with a lot of jealousy. Thank you very much. If I leave before the answers, I think you'll excuse me.
So quickly we'll ask Miriti and Eunice to respond, and then I'll hand it back to Kimathi to do maybe the closing. Then debate can go on tomorrow.
Can I do the last one, madam?
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And I have one or two questions, actually two. And thank you very, very much, Governor 012. For the first time, I think science has settled the myths and the falsehoods that surround Mira. In fact, Dr. Karao, and I heard you very clearly, Daktari, and thank you very much. The thing to say is that we should not take Mira in excess, and all those myths and misconceptions about it have been settled by your presentation. However, I want to direct my question to Professor Karanja, the man who is an analyst. He told us that he did some samples that were taken to him, and we have all agreed that Mira contains primarily two components, that is the cathinone and cathine. Now the thing to do is to tell us how we can preserve or secure the biodegradation of cathinone if we ever hope to add any value to Mira. Because we are told cathinone biodegrades very fast, and that is the active element that is sought by Mira chewers. So perhaps this conference should come up with a suggestion and a scientific way of stabilizing this cathinone so that we can preserve it for the longest and therefore add value to our product. Number two, I want to agree with Dr. Mutumba. He said, you've done classification of Mira. You have done the phenotypes, you have also done the varieties, and you have agreed there are many, and there are variants. Maybe this is the time now we put a label on what is Muguka and what is Mira. Because there can only be a Mira and Muguka. If you ever come up with that classification, we can then patent Mira as Mira and Muguka as what? Muguka tumalizie uzuri. Finally, please, let's know the levels of cathinone and cathine in the leaves and the bark. Thank you very much and God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you. I think let us get 2 reactions from the panelists. We have been holding them for more than 1 hour. Some of them really want to go somewhere. We'll do another round tomorrow. We will have another plenary tomorrow. Plenty of time. Thank you.
Okay, I have been directed 3 questions. The first question was, why did I enlist KDF in my research? Okay, in a research, before you conduct a research, you have to look at 3 things: the public concerns, the political concerns, and the legal concerns. And remember when KDF made that statement that majority of the people in Meru County have a lot of problems due to Mira, that's created a lot of political and public concerns. That was a major reason why I did that study there, and that's the reason of the research which actually gave me that title to conduct the study in Meru, and I had to quote KDF because it created a lot of political and public concerns, which actually made me to show it here and to conduct that study. The second question I was asked I've seen that actually people who chew Mira have a better oral health compared to people who do not chew Mira. What is that content in Mira which actually makes people to have good oral health? Actually, I said it earlier, but I think I said it very fast. It has been proved that actually Mira contains fluoride. You know fluoride? There's something little fluoride, yeah? Mira substance actually has been proven to contain fluoride. So that chemical, it's actually one of the major reasons as to the fact that these people actually they have a better oral health. And the third question was, what was the third question actually? The whiskey and the spirits. Okay. You know that actually a whiskey is a form of spirit. It depends on the distillation which has been conducted. You find that one has a higher distillation as compared to the other, but actually it's it's the flavor of the distillation, yeah. Okay, thank you. I hope everyone is
Asante, thank you. Aya, tumpigie makofi. Very nice.
Thank you for the question on NHIF. We found that 15% of youth are the only ones who are enrolled. This study was conducted in some schools, some markets, and social gatherings in the 4 wards, which were Lare, Mailitatu, Kangeta, and Maua. So we looked at the youth in that age group, in their social gatherings, where we found some in schools, some in the markets, some even in the churches. So those are the ones we interviewed. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I think these ladies and gentlemen, they have done us proud. Silio, tuwapigie makofi. Let us appreciate them. They have done a good job, and we will continue tomorrow. Tomorrow we start registration at 8. Between 8 and 9, registration. 9 sharp, we kick off the next session tomorrow. I want to tell you it will be more exciting tomorrow. And I want to thank you because we started in time today, and that's why we will be able to manage this program. Deputy Governor, on behalf of the entire team, I want to request you to come over here and do a vote of thanks. Let us appreciate our Deputy Governor. The panelists can feel free to join the rest.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Chief of Staff. Mine is very brief. One, to pass a vote of thanks to our researchers, our scientists. Very interesting findings. Terms were getting very technical. But personally, I was very keen on one thing, to hear whether there's one of them who say that Mira is a drug. But I've not heard that. Unless if I slept at some point. But I didn't hear anything like that. So thank you very much for that. We have been told Mira is just a stimulant like coffee, like tea, and all that. So I really want to thank you, our scientists. Of course, from what you have presented here, clearly there are areas that require more research. The areas that probably you even need to increase the sample size. Lois Ngara, I listened to you. Maybe I didn't want to ask you a question, but maybe you may need to do more research, particularly on the effects, social effects of Mira. You know, where you said that the negative effects are more than the positive effects. To me, I think there is need for further research in that area and a few other areas. But let me say thank you very much for the good work that you've done. I also want to agree with Mheshimiwa Mutunga. Science is the way to go. If we have to petition countries and markets that have closed, have said no to Mira, we can only do that with, through science. So when Morocco anajua, we are very passionate about mambo ya Mira, lakini mambo ya science, let's not dismiss science. It's really the way to go. Otherwise, I really want to thank everybody. Thank you, honorable members of parliament. Thank you, Chairman MCDC, and indeed everybody. You have always been very, very patient. You have been sat here throughout the day. And I really want to thank you for your patience and listening to our scientists. Asanteni sana. And finally, I want to say thank you to Governor. Watu walikuwa wanalalala hapa kidogo, lakini Governor through Chairman Nyamita amesema watu wakule ile miraa inaitwa miraa emiro. Kwa kuna wengine wanajai kula miraa, sasa umesikia miraa si drug. So wapi Nyamita Chairman? Ako wapi? Nyamita Chairman ulisema namna gani? Umesema aje? Hebu make that announcement ndio unajua vizuri.
Wenzangu ataigiza mjambo. Gavana wetu wa Meru, Gavana Kirito Murungi, His Excellency has noticed that tumelegea kidogo. The day has been very long. Na akatuambia kama chama ya Mira Nyamita, ile Mira tuko nayo hapo kwa stadi yetu tuifanye available to you. Mwende mkuu ama tukule Mira, chai iko pale nje, tufurahie na tuburudike, tupate energy.
Asante sana. Thank you very much. See you tomorrow at 9 o'clock. Asante and God bless.
Asante sana. Let us appreciate our Deputy Governor, our Governor. We appreciate our Governor once more. Mheshimiwa Mwakamaore, Bwana Speaker, all of us, let us appreciate ourselves.